What's going on, y'all? Thanks for checking in with Callie. Please like, subscribe if you haven't. So apparently we have a former Clippers player who is giving us, or supposedly giving us, the real reason why Paul George left the Clippers. And the man to blame in the situation, according to what Patrick Beverley, former Clippers guard, is saying, who's now playing overseas. And I heard rumors that it's not working out for him. So maybe this is just some type of, wordplay that he's putting out there on his podcast in regards to the Clippers. So maybe they could feel sorry for him and bring him back, which I don't see that happening. And nor should they even look that route, if you ask me. But he's saying that the reason, or giving a explanation more so, he knew that Paul George would be out of there, away from the Clippers, once they got James Harden. Once the Clippers went and got James Harden, basically what Patrick Beverley is saying, that Paul George knew he was going to leave. Now, reports over the years, Patrick Beverley is pretty close with Paul George. They have a real good relationship. Word on the street over the years, Patrick Beverley has a good relationship with Kawhi Leonard also. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say Patrick Beverley is lying, because Patrick Beverley has played with these players. He's known them. He knows them. He's been around them within season, off season. Probably actually, on his podcast, he said that he's basically, chill with both of them, Kawhi and PG, before outside of work, basically. And, he definitely has a grasp and a handle on, a lot of things that we might not know. So I'm not going to sit here and say Patrick Beverley is a liar. But at the same time, I will say this. It's kind of hard to believe in a way, because Paul George said he wanted to stay in LA. He been said that. But at the same time, Paul George could have been lying. It could have just been all about the money the whole time, which, I mean, now that the way we see things surface, it looks like the money was it was all about the money. That's what it looks like, based upon Paul George not staying in LA with the team that he's, built something with, and his family being from LA. He was born in California. You would think he would want to stay home, but at the same time, I guess he didn't want to give a home discount either. So, listen to Patrick Beverley say that, you could look at it from one or two ways. You could look at it that he's lying, maybe just speaking for clout. Or you could look at it as in possibly, it's up in the air. It's possible that he's telling the truth, because, like I said, he hangs around Paul George. He knows Paul George outside of basketball, along with Kawhi, along with other players on the team as well, obviously, because he's been there. He was with the Clippers longer than anybody there that you see now, for the most part. So when I think about the situation, all in all, I can possibly say the same thing for Kawhi Leonard, because after this season, I could say Kawhi Leonard might possibly leave. But I mean, that could just be pure speculation. I'm saying? And that's pretty much what it is with Patrick Beverley. But I will say this. When James Harden did come to the Clippers, I had my doubts more than anybody. You can go back and check out my videos last year back then when he got, sent to the Clippers. I just felt like, the Clippers are going in a direction I don't think that Kawhi and or PG would be ultimately comfortable with, going forward. Especially, PG, because when you think about adding another star player like James Harden, PG's production is going to go down, or somebody's going to have to, suffer production-wise in regards to points per game. Now, Russ did take a back seat and go to the bench, which was really big of him to do, and I commend him for that. But it was still not enough basketballs to go around for all those players, all those star players on the team. Somebody was going to be unhappy. Somebody had to sacrifice. And Paul George knew that he would be one of the ones that probably would have to sacrifice. So when we think about that, it's possible that, Paul George might have been thinking like, hey, maybe I need to jump ship, especially, if I see that things are not going to go my way. Now, me personally, how I look at it, I don't look at it specifically from Patrick Beverley's standpoint. I look at it more specifically like Paul George probably weighed his options. He was like, okay, I'm cool with James Harden coming to the Clippers as long as my production really doesn't change. And as long as I get mine, and as long as he can just add to what we have and not try to take over what we have. You see what I'm saying? I feel like Paul George might have thought of it more in that aspect, because I think he was cool. Me personally, I think he was cool with James Harden coming to the Clippers. I just didn't think that he was cool with, how everything was going for the team. Now, when they started winning, okay, everything was fine. Kawhi was going off. Kawhi looked like the best player in the league for at least like 2 months in the league. So, and then the way everything was gelling as far as them winning games, as much as games they won, 26 out of 31 games or something like that, which was incredible. I think that kind of kept the voices quiet, kept everybody quiet because they're winning, didn't want to mess up the rotations, how everything was working for them. But then I think as, the season went on, when Kawhi got hurt, and, Paul George was looking at everything from a huge standpoint, he probably looked at it like, maybe maybe I need to try to look at least listen to other teams this offseason, even if the Clippers do possibly give me the extension I want or give me somewhere around the extension I want. Maybe it's okay to at least listen to teams. You know what I'm saying? And, maybe that's the possibility. But I don't want to rule out what Patrick Beverley said as well, because Patrick Beverley could be spot on. That could have been something Paul George told him. So, we definitely can't rule that out. But all in all, my take on Paul George, just individually wise, from what I got out of him by the move that he made, he's more so all about the money. Now, don't get me wrong. Philadelphia is a good situation where he could possibly win a championship. But at the same time, that's also a situation where, he took it more for the money, less about comfortability, because he's more comfortable in California, of course. So, it's a whole lot of nuances and variables to this situation. But I can tell you this much. When James Harden came to the Clippers, I had my doubts. And I'm pretty sure Kawhi did. I'm pretty sure everybody did on the team besides the front office. And there again, I just feel like the Clippers just make decisions sometimes that really don't need to happen. James Harden, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But his biggest Achilles heel is the playoffs. He never shows up in the playoffs. And if you're trying to win a championship, to me, you really can't base it around a player like James Harden. Why would you do that when his Achilles heel is what you're trying to accomplish, which is winning the playoffs to ultimately win a championship? Something that he's never been able to carry a team to do, something that he's never been able to, muster up mentally so he can be mentally strong enough to go into the playoffs and perform the way he's supposed to. So, I think that, it's just all around bad decision making for the Clippers organization because of the front office. But hey, James Harden is there. Him and Kawhi is there. They got to try to make it work. They're just going to have to try to make it work. I think they could be a really good team during the regular season. Playoffs is all that really matters, though. And James Harden in the playoffs, I'll never trust James Harden in the playoffs until he shows me otherwise. I'm just saying. So, if Paul George was thinking about everything I just said, along with what, Patrick Beverley was saying, well, then maybe that was his cue to leave. Maybe he was at least going to listen to teams and give teams the option, or maybe at least leave his options open to listen to other teams, see what they had to say, because of the Clippers having too much so-called firepower, and he's not getting the production that he's used to getting before James Harden and or Russ coming to the Clippers. So, I don't know. We really don't know for sure, but we know Paul George is gone. We know he's not coming back, and we know that the Clippers are not looking for him back, and nor should they look for him to come back ever, because they moved on. Paul George moved on, and so does Patrick Beverley. Definitely need to move on, because this situation here is pretty much, a foregone conclusion. Paul George is in Philly. Kawhi is still in L.A., along with James Harden. And the Clippers are just going to have to try to ride it out and see what they can do. They have some good, solid pieces all the way around. I like to see what they'll be able to do. I think they'll be a good team during the regular season. I think they'll surprise some people. But as I said before, it's all about the playoffs. And we'll see what happens then. Because if the Clippers find a way to come through in the playoffs, it shuts up all naysayers. It shuts up all doubters. And it shuts up a lot of speculation in regards to who they are as a team and where they are now.